Hello, this is Bridget from the Divine Essentials. Okay, guys, so this is Starseed Shaman podcast. Um, it has been a weird time. I feel like some people probably know what I'm talking about, and other people probably don't. Depends on your energy, probably, and like where your stuff's influenced and all of that. Because I feel like some people love when we switch into this season. Some people are born, during the season, and some people are not. And those of us who are not may not do so well, especially when we have other things going on. We have Venus doing some weird ass shit. And anytime she does some weird ass shit, kicks my ass. Last January is when she went retrograde. And it was like overnight horrible. I was like, what the hell? Like, it was just everything that she touches, because Venus rules luxury, money, beauty, love, sex, passion, all of that. And she went retrograde, and it was like, boom, boom. And now she is moving from, like, she's got points, okay? She does a point thing in the sky. She's sacred geometry, just like everything else here. But her pattern every 8 years creates like a thing, it's like a 8-pointed flower or rose flower type of pattern. It's funny because it's inside of the Pleiadian astrology. It's like a spiral thing. It's 111 on the clock right now too. I just happened to notice. And it was at 2:22 recording. So the Pleiadians have, these is people who channel the Pleiadian consciousness, spirals of consciousness. They have a cycle of 13. So every 13 days it changes. But it repeats this thing. It's like, oh, the first day is about this, the second day is about that, the third day is about this. It does that for 13 days, over and over and over and over and over. And when you're born, you came in on one of those days in one of those cycles of 13. And it just keeps repeating. There's vortex days. There is retrograde-ish type of thing. It's like every I don't even know. I can't remember. It was, I think, every 63 days or something. It was like there's some influence that like shifts in a different way, or I don't even know. I gotta look at it again. It's so much information. It's like a whole other astrology, but instead of being based off of 12, instead of being based off of, this like linear structure, it's more of a spiral, which makes sense to me because I feel like I interact with the world more so on a spiral, or like I come back around to things. It's like sometimes I'm here and then I'm not back there again for a while. I think that's why I do like different things too, because it's like I just can't force stuff. I can't force myself to show up or continue to do things I don't want to do, or that don't feel aligned or whatever. It's hard to explain, I think, to some people, unless they've been in energy or sensitive to energy, sensitive to other people's energy, sensitive to the nuances of this world. But those who get it, and that's basically what's going on right now. Is it hasn't happened since 18 something, like, been a long time. and Venus was her, like, her star point. Whatever is happening, it was Capricorn, and now it's going to Libra, which is interesting to me because I did Mott for a goddess activation, and then last night when I did Lilith, hers was about equality. Mott is about justice and balance, like the two scales. Libra, basically, okay? Mott, Libra. It just happens to freaking like I don't I don't plan anything in advance, but it always, no matter what, comes together and aligns perfectly with the bigger thing at play. I don't know what I'm doing. I have no clue what I'm doing. But it always happens. And I find out after, like, I may know on some level somewhere, but I'm not consciously like, oh, you know what, let me start doing this goddess thing now, because I started it last February. And then, like, this next October, which is now, right, October, I will do blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. I didn't plan it. It just happened. And even just little weird things that come to be, or that I figure out or find out at the same time, is like, what? Like, I never really thought in, I don't know. It's hard to explain. I don't think much about what I'm doing. I just do. I just go with whatever. And I'm like, okay, Matt's next. Matt wants to be here. I don't even know why I know it. I just know it. And then I'm like, oh, it's interesting. It's Libra season, and, you know, this is the time. And then I see these other things all tied to it. It's like, this is the time of year for but this and that. And then I look, and Lilith is coming in. And Lilith has been cast out of Eden because she wouldn't be subservient to the man that she was made exactly the same as, other than being a woman who gives birth and brings life. And even in the on a grand scale, there's like Venus going from here to here. She's going into the point of Libra for balance and justice, and this is like in our love, in our relationships, equality. Okay, like that's happening out there on a grand scale right now. That's what Venus is doing in her pattern. She hasn't shifted an astrological sign in like 1,000 years. But hey, when I decide to do Lilith activation, and work with Ma and all these energies of equality and balance and justice in Libra, it just happens to fall at the same time. It's kind of weird to me that happens. But it proves to me that I'm not... I know, like, that there's a reason for it. There has to be. Like, that's just too much. And even, like, the little things, like my book for the cards that I have, like my oracle deck that I have with goddesses, Lilith and Mott, I, like, read it, boom, boom, consecutively. And I didn't even know that I was going to do Mott until when I found out, which was, like, very close to when I did it. And she had already been coming in, though, from, like, years before. And it's like she spiraled back up. Because I'm pretty sure when I got the reading that I got with Mott coming in, because Mott's supposedly one of my spirit guides, like a closer one, because we have... and this is another thing that I found out recently, like I heard from, I think it was like a clip of Dolores Cannon, who, she did like hypnotism work and stuff, and she worked with a lot of people who talked to, like, she worked and did a lot of like past life regression and talking to people's higher selves, and all the people that she interviewed, it was like she pretty much got the same story, over and over and over. Like, all these people's I am presences or higher selves all have the same type of way of telling her or explaining consciousness, what we're doing here, why we're here, the 3 waves of volunteers, here to awaken humanity, the indigo, the crystal, the rainbow, all of that. I don't know, like I didn't look much into her, like I didn't read her book. I didn't watch many of her videos. I don't, like, I've seen clips of her, and I've seen probably like a documentary or something that she was in. I think she has like, I think she passed away, and her daughter may still continue to like run Facebook or something connected to her work, like her books and stuff. But there's stuff that I've said that I felt, or give as like this is probably why this is, or this is something I feel like is a thing. And then I'll see like one of those video clips, and she says the exact same thing, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, I know some of it may have like I might have heard it and remembered it, but didn't know that I remembered it. You know what I mean? Sometimes like I think we may hear a thing or subconsciously, but I don't like, I tried to say this to my dad earlier. I was like, some stuff we just know, but we don't even recognize that we know it. Like, we just know it. We don't know where it came from, but it doesn't change the fact that it's there. Like, when I was a kid, nobody taught me who Orion's belt was, but I knew who it was. Nobody taught me who Archangel Michael was. I never went to church. I never stepped foot in church. I was never baptized or Christian or any of that stuff. Parents, or neither one of them, were going to church. It was just not my place. Like, it wasn't my choice. Like, I wasn't like coming in as a baby, like, don't take me there. I just never went. So, as I grew up, it's weird to me for me to know about him at all. Like, how did I know who he was? Nobody talked about him to me. Same thing with Orion's belt. Nobody told me who that was. I just knew. But I didn't realize that until later in life, when I was like looking back and thinking about it, and I'm like, wait a minute, how did I even know? And then I can't remember what it was tonight, but there was something that we were talking about, something like to do with all of this stuff, and my dad was like, blah 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 blah, and I'm like, how do you know that? And he was like, I just do. It's like, yeah, but and I wasn't saying that he was wrong or anything like that. It was just more so of like, you just know it. You just know that, and a lot of us do. But we've been lied to, or things have been suppressed or hidden, or like not talked about or discussed. But seems like there's some people, and I think everybody's on their own frequency. I feel like some of us who have been here, done this before, came through, got our t-shirt, had experiences, could have been on other places, depends on where you come from and all of that. I think we just are aware innately of things. Like, a lot, like, where does this idea of people come from? Like, all the people who say, like, oh, back in the old times, they lived for, like, hundreds of years. And that seems to be, like, a common thing that people connect to or think, like, it was just, like, a thing, like, it was just a knowing. How do I know if that's true or not? You know what I mean? Like, why would I even assume that? Why are we assuming that? Who told us that? Because, like, they don't really say that anywhere to us. But a lot of us think it, or feel it, or know it, or we just, like, say it. But it's not, like, taught in our school books. And there's people who have been, educated by the schools. And, they're like, no. They died, like, really quickly, like 50 years, So, and it's a very big contradiction to what we know inside. Like, we know within, like, the people in Atlantis that we know about, we know Atlantis exists. We know it on a fucking worldwide, everywhere. Everybody has the same story. Like, obviously something went down, but man decided to tell his story instead of history, and everybody tweaked it to make themselves the best, because they're all assholes. You can't just be normal. But we all know, like, we all feel it, we all sense it. Like, even that is one of those things. Like, where the hell did I find out about Atlantis? You know, like, why did I even know? Because, like, I had a spiritual awakening, but I knew about Atlantis long before that. But nobody, like, sat me down and told me about it. Nobody showed me it. I don't even know if I've ever heard about it in school. You know, it may have been mentioned in a movie or whatever, but I don't really think it was. I think we don't pay attention enough to what's already, like, downloaded into us when we come. And it's just like, it's just there. It's just, we know. And it's weird. If you pay attention, if you think about what I'm saying, I think more people will realize what I'm saying. Like you just have some stuff up there. You don't know where it came from. But I'm going to assume it's probably, well, could be a little bit of a couple of things. It could be that you saw it, you know it because you were there, experienced it. Could be because of collective consciousness influencing us. If you get 100 monkeys to believe something or know something, they all start knowing it. Boop, boop, boop. Like, there's like the 100 monkey effect, which there's been debate about that. But basically, what the whole thing is, like, I heard this way back a decade ago before they, like, chopped the story up 1,000 times and told it different ways. Basically, what they were saying was that there was an island with some monkeys, and they had food on the beach. Like, I don't know, like a pear, right? And some of the monkeys were shown how to wash it before eating it so it wasn't covered in sand. And it was like, oh, look at that, boom. And they all started showing each other, like, on this island. And more were doing it over time. Oh, look at that. Like, they showed each other, taught each other, hey, look at this, don't have to eat sand, much better. Wash it off first. And when it hit, like, a large enough number of them doing it on this island, they started doing it on the other island. But nobody showed them. They just knew. Just boom, through the collective consciousness of them. Like, they just absorbed it. It's probably in the DNA. It's probably because we have, like, a multi-dimensional reality. It's not as basic as everybody thinks. It's like quantum entanglement. I'm pretty sure that's like but that was one of those things too that I was saying. How do you know? Like, how do we know that the quantum entanglement persons, how did they find out? Like, did they do this? Did they go light years away and put half of an atom over there and half of an atom over there and do their little thing that they say? Is that, like, no matter where, like, you could take half an atom and half an atom if they have this quantum entanglement thing, put them light years away, so far away, and when you look at it, like, say you bounce it, like, there's this is the thing too, one goes up, one goes down. It's duality. It's like there's the feminine and the masculine. Polarity. Duality. Going up and down at the same time. But only if you observe it. Only if you look at this. Like, if you look at your half that's going up, right? You look at that, you see that it's only doing that when you look at it, when you observe it. When you make that intention to observe it, that's when it does it. Otherwise, it's not there. And the same thing for the other one, going down, light years away. It happens instantaneously. It doesn't transfer through the air. they say. It just is. But only if you intend to observe it or like see it. It's really weird. But my thing is too, it's like how do we even know that? Like, are you sure? Did you see this study? Did you go light years away and look? And then when you didn't look, like, you know what I mean? Who the hell is not? It's I don't know. There's so much stuff like that. But it's another part of that thing. It's like, I believe it, but I don't fully grasp it, and I don't think we can. But I think I think there's a lot of that like there's just like that would be a better explanation for why there's pyramids all over the planet, why there's megalithic cities all over the planet. Nothing ever made sense as a kid in like class or history, when they're like, oh yeah, did people who had ropes and these fucking humongous things, precision that we still can't do, and like since then, all the stuff that's been discovered about the freaking pyramids and all of that stuff, that it like the pyramid is like a perfect representation of the earth, like on the math of it is like it's the same thing as the earth to like the exact pinpointed whatever physics type of thing you got going on. I had done an interview with Brian Forrester, who is a man who has gone around to 80 different countries. He did find and like work with the Paracas skulls in Peru, and they're like these elongated skulls. They're redheaded. They're like weird. Some of them were probably done with like trying to emulate them, you know, like wrapping babies' heads up or something. I don't know. But the thing is too, is like mainstream wouldn't look at them. Like they just are like, oh, those don't exist, or like they're not important. We're not gonna study them. We're not gonna explore further because it goes against Darwinian theory. But he had gone all over the place, and I actually like, I don't even know how I got there, just more synchronicity. Like, I was talking to somebody about something, got brought to that, and I was like, oh, I know a guy, blah, blah, blah. So I listened to the episode again, it was when I did the Blu-ray talk thingy with Natalie Alea she was my mentor from Ireland for the Moon Key rights. She, like, I can't remember, I think she knew him from, I don't know how she knew him, but this was like 6 years ago when we talked, and at the time we talked about the pyramids, and I said, I feel like they're for power, like they're like power plants, you know, like those are the ancient power plants, and back then, because of how temperature and everything was different, there was water that ran underneath the Great Pyramid, and basically the vibration of that and the steady flow of water created some sort of energy conductor. And it's like a healing chamber, like the harmonics inside of the sarcophagus and all of that. They say these are the tombs for the kings. It's not what they are. And another point was like, okay, how did they make such a good one, like a really awesome one, but then they just like declined over time? Like, that's weird. How do we go from being these people, like clearly? And he also had a thing about like these Paracas skulls. They're found in Peru, in Paracas, but they don't originate there. They ended up there probably because they looked weird, so they got chased or hunted. But his thing was like, I feel like they, you know, travel. And he had like a whole thing about, all right, this time of year you leave here, boom, boom, boom. You're gonna go over here. Then like when the wind changes, boom, boom. Then you come right down here to here. Like you can see how you can get there, what path you would take to get there. But I think people are more open to this stuff now than they were 6 years ago. Back then, it was like there was not as many people aware or even paying attention, and I think it's just multiplied because of stuff like that interview, like just more and more people talking about it. But he basically said why is it far-fetched to think like we had a global civilization before, or that we were more advanced then. And my thing is, the more advanced that shit is, the less proof there is, because it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and crazier. So the pyramids are huge, megalithic like structures. They're like, those are pretty good things. Those are going to stand the test of time. They're pretty freaking old. Probably much older than what we think, because of like the water erosion on the Sphinx and all of that. And it's just like it's clear 100% people originally did not know. They only had what they could go off of. So they figured things out wrong. And that's okay. That's why we keep evolving and changing and growing and be like, oh wait, this makes no sense. Let's apply some other logic here, or get somebody else that can give us the information that will help to solve this. Instead of just having people who study rocks, having people who study engineering or whatever. Like the math and stuff that they say, like if that pyramid was built within 25 years by slaves, it would have to have like one of those humongous 2-ton freaking diamond incision blocks put into place every like 2 minutes non-stop that entire time for that to like fit that timeline. It's just impossible. And I remember like laughing in school when they were like, yeah, they had ropes and we're like pulling them up, like these fucking, I don't even know what they would. It does not make sense. It's not, no. And if you just have slaves, like the precision, the math, the science, like even just like Stonehenge and stuff, and then we find out like all of these places all over the planet are all on these like ley lines, or these vortices, or they're all basically on the same fucking plate. Like there's a straight line. It's like all these huge things, or ancient sites that have like the solstice and this and that all aligned crazily to pinpoint in degrees of each other. It's like, yeah, okay. And then you look at like the Nazca lines. You can't tell what they are or even know that they're there until you're in the air. So we obviously have had access to flying and ships. Like, I don't know why that would be like a surprise, How would the people in Egypt get all of the stuff that they have if they didn't like trade or go in a boat and get some stuff somewhere else? Because the stuff that they had, didn't originate there, or it like was traded and bartered. And a boat isn't that big of a deal, It's like, oh, hey, make a boat. If we could make a fucking pyramid like that, which was still debatable. I don't think they could do it now. Like, you never see anybody like, let's try. Nobody wants to attempt it. But boats, like, are not that difficult to create if you're doing that. I don't know. But basically, there's a lot of stuff that's just, it's already in our brain. It's already there. everything's like intertwined and interconnected, and I think that's like with the Mandela effect, where all of us, not all of us, like it's like a split. It's like some of us are over here on this timeline, some of us over here on this timeline. Like the Bernstein Bears, I had those books as a kid, like a shitload of them, and I'm pretty sure that the way I remember them is not how they are now, like with the spelling and everything. And they try to like say, oh, that's just like cursive or whatever. You were a kid, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know. Like, I have pretty good memory about certain things, and like I can still see like the little foil thing beside those, like on the binding of the book or whatever. I had like a whole lot of those in a room. And my dad's, I think, at one point, I don't know where they ended up or whatever, but that's not the only one, you know, that I felt like, oh yeah, definitely that's not what it was. like entire sayings that change, which I get. Sometimes people just say things wrong, or we you know, a different version comes out than what actually is it. But I don't think like that many people would be doing that, you know. And the thing that I think started it off was like some people thought Mandela had died when he hadn't died, like where he died, when he died, he's still alive. You know what I mean? Everybody had their version of reality, because then you have their timeline or their dimension that they're existing within, their plane of consciousness. And I think sometimes we are creating so many co-creations as creators of our reality that we bump into each other, or we overlap, or things get like a little messed up, because it's gonna happen sometimes, like, you know. Definitely like I went to CVS today for my dad, and it was weird. Like I walk in there now, I'm like, what the hell? Like literally every aisle that I walked down, I was like, it felt like I was being targeted. Like, how do you even, like almost every single, I literally could have stopped and bought something on every single aisle. But then I started looking at the stuff, and I'm like, why is there so much of this stuff? And why don't we fucking need it? Like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing to people? Like, it's like, and we get drawn right into stuff, usually on a frequency. It's like if you're not feeling good, it was weird. I can't remember, like, what, oh my god, yeah, and they're fucking, I noticed that they have, like, the condom area, they have, like, dildos and stuff in there now, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that'd be so, I don't know, like, weird for me. I just dropped my earbud thingy. Hopefully it's still there. I don't know, that would be weird for me to go in there and be like, hey, let me grab a toy while I'm here. Like, but they're there. What the hell was the first aisle? I don't know. I remember, like, I had, like, this, on my third aisle of, like, this, like, I could get everything in all of these aisles. There was, like, Mucinex or something, and I had just, like, you know, like, I had felt, like, phlegmy. And I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, are they doing something to me when I'm going into this aisle to make me think that I need that? You know what I mean? What the hell was the one before? I think the one before was like lotions. Yeah, there was like certain lotions, and then there was like lotion for this, lotion for that. Then there was like wound care and different types of like antiseptics and just all these different things. And I was like, why do we need, like, we're like killing people. You know what I mean? all the stuff that like people are being bombarded with, like the food that people eat, the fact that like we have to have some fucking special this or that, like this type of special fucking lotion, or this special type of this for people who have this. That's totally because of the food that they eat. It's not because of, you know, like that was just a thing that happened. Like skin, our skin is fucked up. We don't belong here. We don't belong on this planet, first of all. Like, we are the odd ones. Everybody else just fucking lives in harmony with nature. And we're like, hey, let's build a house. Plastic. Fucking destroy this place. But then we're doing it to ourselves too, like the atmosphere, the ozone, like this. Like, people are saying they can't grow their gardens because every time it rains, it's like slime is all over their plants, and it's like poison. And even my dogs, like, we had sprayed for freaking ticks because I got Lyme when I fucking moved here to my two little girls. I got it. My dogs, my two little girls got it when I got here. I got it. Like, what the fuck, dude? Like, so we sprayed the next year because we didn't want any more fucking of that happening. But then, like, the dog's skin starts falling off because it's like poison. It's like you can't win. So I haven't sprayed again because I don't want to hurt the dogs. And even when we had them, it's not like we sprayed where the dogs go. I don't even know if that's what it is. I just know that, like, at the, like, they're low to the ground. I have wiener dogs, so, like, whatever's on the grass is gonna, you know, tickle them. But then I looked at a thing today, like, I'm in, like, a wiener group on Facebook, and some person just posted in there and showed her dog, and her dog's allergic to chicken. Well, they think that, because everybody else in the freaking feed was like, oh yeah, that happened to mine, me too, oh yeah, chicken. Like, all the dogs that had this, like, rash thing were allergic to chicken. Sorry, I don't know what that did. But that's kind of weird, like, that they're all allergic to that. Like, why? And what else are we allergic to? Like, that we're, like, forcing ourselves in this weird place that we don't belong. Like, or, I don't know, I feel like a lab experiment, like, gone wrong. Especially the more I learn, or the more I see things. But I also believe that we are projecting our reality. So, like, when I went into the store today, I know how I was feeling, you know, like, and how I've been feeling, and it was like, oh, I probably could use that and that and that. Like, yeah, I probably could, because whatever, like, it's just, that's the frequency I must be in right now, or the ideas. Like, I've been being targeted for stuff that's not for me. I know it's not for me, but they're trying to make me think it's for me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's necessarily like like some specific person is like, oh, let's make Bridget think this. But I see the fear, propaganda, and everything. Or the assumptions that fucking people are targeting with their ads and stuff, and it's messed up. It's, like, so messed up. And a lot of times people say, oh, synchronicity, or what. It's not. A lot of it's not synchronicity. A lot of it is targeting ads, people listening to your everything, knowing what you're doing, like, what's going on with you. Like, it's gotten weird, to the point where, like, my phone, like, has its own freaking interactions and stuff, like the screen, it's like somebody else is using my phone, and I'm like, what, are you done? You know, like, the buttons being pressed and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, this is definitely not normal. But some of that too it's hard for me to decipher, because I, like, have a lot of spiritual stuff go on too. Like, I have spirit activity, I have 3D, 5D, freaking crazy D stuff going on, and I see stuff, and I'm starting to see more, especially right now, because the veil thins at this time of the year. That's like Halloween, Samhain. It's a scary time, right? it's darkness, it's death, it's the cold time coming. Like, we're like, so everyone goes inside to hibernate. Where I am, I think other places it's the opposite, but that's what it is all about. It's like death, the end of the season. Everything, the trees like shed their leaves, the animals go and pile up and stockpile and try to find a warm place. It's a cyclical type of thing, but the dark comes and like the veil thins, and I think that's where we get all this like creepy, scary stuff at Halloween, and why it just happens, and why Scorpio ends up being like, oh, they're the creepy people, like, or they're like scary people or whatever, dark people. I don't know. It's a frequency, it's an energy. Everybody has their own. I listened to a meditation the other day that like I don't even know how I found it, stumbled onto it, but I was like, boop, clicked on it, and it was different from what I like, because normally I would try to find like guided meditation. This one was just like, who are you? And I think he only said like a few words, but it was like a man's voice, shamanic drumming. It's like, whoa, and who are you? He said a few times, and he was like, fire, living beings, water, air, just and that's it. Like, that's not a whole lot of dialogue going on, and it's just randomly, and I think it repeats like 5 or 6 times, like this, like, who are you? And then it's like, fire, and then it slows down, and then it speeds up, slows down, quiet, repeat, for like 30 minutes. I saw, it was crazy. I was like, what is going on? I think it like unlocked something, because there was like a wolf howl in it, and the drumming usually gets me anyways. Like they've proven shamanic drumming put people into trance if you do it right, do the right patterns. You can go into trance. And the drum is so different in person, but actually that was another synchronicity I found the other day, because my first drum that I made is made of deer skin. Did a whole ceremony of gratitude, thank you for your skin, and like the source for the place that we got the skins and all this stuff. It was like, all good. It was, and everything was being used, food, the meat, the skin, and opening sacred space and doing all this stuff. But they were saying, for some reason, the deer skin was like better for doing the trance work or whatever. And I was like, that's interesting. I don't doubt it, I feel like the deer, it's just a portal keeper or something, it's like one of the ones that has a foot between the worlds. But that's what like the shamans are too. And after I did the meditation, I had subscribed to the channel, so they had posted on the community board something, and they were like, people have this misconception that shamanism is like about the light or whatever, and they're like, this is really not. It's like it's about going into the darkness to find enlightenment, to find the light. It's both. It's up and down. It's good and bad. You can't have one without the other. And it's like being a walking person between those worlds, and then like interacting in those worlds, seeing the messages, interpreting the messages, figuring it all out. But when I did this meditation, it was like, holy crap, because I don't normally see things, and I did. And I feel like that needs to change, those words, because I think that's changing for me. I think I am seeing now. But I was like, it was, first of all, I know there were past lives, like just the knowing thing. And I was with the person that considered twin, connection there. And we were, I guess primitive is like, I guess what I could say, like if you think of like Adam and Eve and Lilith, right? Like back in the garden, they didn't really have much going on for clothes and stuff. Um, there wasn't like beautiful skyscraper places and cities and things. It was very primitive. That was like the first one that I saw. It was like I could just tell that we lived basically like cave people, um, it was like we were dirty, but it wasn't like gross dirty. It was just like we were primitive people. We lived outside and started running like in a big field, huge field. Both of us just running fast, but it wasn't because of fear. It wasn't because of whatever. It was just we were just running, and then in this life, and this is crazy for me because I've had a lot of synchronicity with Wolf, with that person specifically, like the wolf. I don't know, just weird connections with the wolf would come up when we were talking and stuff, and we had a life where we were basically wolf, but we were people. It was like, I didn't say this, right? Like, I didn't even really know how to explain it. Like, it was weird. It was like, we were two things, but we lived like we were wolves. We lived like in the woods. It was a lifetime with a lot of passion. And I was telling somebody about it today. Like, I was texting my friend who also has clear knowing and has like the same fucking things as me all the time. Like we always end up saying things, and I know like the way that it was said at the times that it, like, when somebody's texting you and you're texting them, and it's like they say something as you're asking it, and that because the time that it came in is like boom boom, like they didn't have time to even read it, never mind respond, and they're already responding with the thing that you're thinking, and you're saying it back and forth to each other, and it's like, holy fucking shit, like, how is that possible that we both have had these crazy weird things? But she was like, wolf shape-shifting, basically, and that was like, yeah, that's, like, I didn't have those words for it beforehand, but then I was like, yeah, that's actually makes much more sense, because it felt like that, but I didn't really know how to say it. When you think about Egypt and all the people back then, like being half animal, and I don't even think it was that they were. I think they were shape shifting, or they were, able to do that. Able to embrace, and that's like what the shamans kind of are, anyways. It's like medicine men and women. They're transformative. They change. They shape shift. They travel between the worlds. They communicate to the spirits, and they take on different ways of being and doing, and they trance, and it's weird. It's not weird. It's just, it's hard to explain. But if you're somebody that's been in it at all, it's like a whole other world. It's weird. It's hard to explain. I definitely resonate much more with all the things that ends up like coming about through the synchronicities, and anything I read from other people who are like practicing shamanism or have had experiences with it. It's like you don't choose it; it chooses you. It's like I didn't decide to wake up and I'm gonna be a shaman. And I still don't like go off and say that, because I don't feel like that's the appropriate term for me. Like, but even in that thing right there is kind of like what a shaman would do, because they're not like, hey, I'm a fucking shaman. Like, people seek them out for help. People come, to the middle of the woods to find the medicine man, who's usually crazy. like it buys today's standards or traditional thinking. And I've been locked up, told, like, people are like, oh, she's crazy, but I was never fucking suicidal crazy or anything like that until they tried to help me. Then it was like, oh, now I'm really messed up because this help that you're giving me is really hurting me because you don't understand me because I'm not, your average weird, like, experience. Like, it's weird. It's hard to explain. And I know others out there have been on that path. And it's a path of darkness, it's a path of duality, it's a path of suffering, struggling, but it's also the opposite of that. And it's a duality, it's an integration of two things, the good and the bad, the up and the down. We go through a lot of stuff, we see a lot of stuff, and that's just what it is. But there's too many synchronicities, there's too many freaking, like, oh, me too, me too, me too, me too, among those who find themselves chosen by the path. Now that we have more people in the society that we're in, where it's like we're not in the middle of the jungle, we're not out there in these situations where people recognize, oh, hey, that's a medicine man. We're like, hey, that person's having a freaking schizophrenic, whatever, lock them away. And it's scary because it is a very fine line, and you have to kind of have a little level of woohoo crazy to go and do that work in between the worlds, to talk and ask spirit for help, and to do these things, change the stuff, retrieve this soul fragment of somebody who has maybe been raped or hurt or harmed at some point, and because of that they fragmented part of their soul away, and now they're living with that fragment gone. A piece of them is missing. They feel, it's a wound. So go in and find the fragment, bring it back to them. Then there's the people who have the animal spirits, which I feel you are connected to them, and you probably do shapeshift, maybe in the astral realm for more people. It happens or whatever. I feel like there's levels too. I feel like some souls are just like not there yet, and other souls are like, I've been shapeshifting since the dawn of time. Some are from above, some are from below. I think the Bible, the scary tactics, oh, this is this and that's bad and this is evil, and that's done to feed an agenda or to keep people in line or whatever. Like the thing that I read last night about Lilith and Adam and Eve and all of that, I was like, this is messed up. Like, I don't want that God if that's the God that you have. That's like, hey, if she goes back and is subservient, even though I made them the exact same way at the same time, they're the same things, only one's a boy and one's a girl, I'm going to make him in charge. And because he was, Adam was like, ew, I'm better than you. I'm better. She was like, fuck you, I'm out of here. And then flies away. I was like, wait, what? She can fly? What are you talking about? I don't think Eve could fly. I don't think Adam could fly. Because they were like, he just sat there helpless. He was so sad that she just fucking flew off. So he called to his God. It was like, the woman that you gave me left. And he was like, oh no. God sent 3 angels to go find her. And they found her flying over the ocean. And they were like, hey, you gotta go back, man. You gotta go back and be subservient to Adam. Because he's being a bitch over there right now, freaking out. She was like, no, I'm not doing it. So God was like, well, if she comes back, it's all is okay and I've made her good. But if not, 100 of her children will die every day. What? Why? What the fuck? What the fuck do they have to do with anything, and why? And so she was like, whatever, fucking okay, dude. I guess that's how it's gonna be, because I'm not going back. And she told the angels if the kids, the babies, were wearing an amulet with their names on it, like Shamuel or Woobobo or Bobobo, she'd spare their lives. But every day, 100 of Lilith's demon babies, by the way, they made her demon. They cast her out. They said, now you're a demon, and your children are demons, and 100 of your children will die every day, because you won't go back and be beneath him. And then they were like, all right, now we're going to take his fucking rib and make a new person. That's crazy. Okay. This thing's like boop, 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 boop. So I got 5 minutes left before it's done. But, yeah. So that was the story that I was like, what? And guess what the number of the thing in the book, you know, they have Genesis or whatever, and they're like, back in the day, they were like, hey, whatever, I guess they talked about Eve. Not many people have talked about, like, they tried to write her out of it and be like, oh, she's bad, she's evil. 127 and 222 were the numbers of the, like, biblical thing from Genesis when they talk about man being created, and all of that whole thing that went down. And it's weird. Like, and, you know, I do believe that it's based loosely on reality, because it's like a worldwide story. Everywhere you go, there's like Isis and Osiris, they get their, like, thing. They're basically Mary and Jesus. And then you see that over and over and over again in all these different religions. Obviously something went down, which is pretty similar. There's a worldwide, like, flood or catastrophe, took a lot of people out. That explains us having better technology, making pyramids, and then having a downfall when everything got wiped out. But I don't, you know, like, I don't want to be involved with that situation. Like if she's a demon, I think she's probably more balanced than not, because that doesn't sound right to be killing 100 babies. Or like, why? Like, she just wanted equality. That's all she wanted. I think that men and women should have their roles. I think masculine and feminine is two totally different things. I think it's both needed and necessary, but I don't think that one is better than the other. And I think a lot of things have been twisted or manipulated to make people feel a certain way, or to do a certain thing, or to think a certain thing. Fear is a lot of it. And demons feed off of fear, supposedly, and children. So I don't know, it's all layered and weird. But this season has been difficult. I've definitely been struggling. My dad was too, like depression. Like, he was like talking about, and I asked him before, and he was like, no, I'm fine. And then he was like, not fine, like suicidal. But I think that's been lifting, coming back up, that energy. Okay, like, if you've been feeling sad and down and depressed and miserable, pull yourself up and out, because you are the only one that can, based off of what you're thinking, focused on, and allowing. I know it's not always easy. Give yourself permission to accept it. Be like, yep, I'm having a bad time right now, or I'm sad right now, but it's gonna shift. It always shifts. It always has to. It doesn't always stay the same. And, you know, it sucks. It's scary sometimes. You're like, oh my god, how am I gonna survive? Like I gotta get up. I gotta do this thing, and I let guilt, like, you know, consume me and freak me out. I've had like a couple of bookings that I haven't been able to get back to people, because I've been just like, I was just in bed for days and days and days dying. Like, it felt like I was dying. Sometimes you just have to, okay, you know what, like, whatever. There's always gonna be people wanting us to do something. There's always gonna be bills. There's always gonna be more shit to do, more stress to figure out, and whatever. Sometimes we just need to take a break. Sometimes we can't do what people want us to do, and whatever happens, happens. But I literally have less than a minute left now, so I am gonna go. But I will be back soon. So, in my day, namaste.